Let's talk about Terry Cortez and how you came to be a Dharmacharya.
Okay, I'll skip all those many years. Well, I was a Methodist.
Fulfill for you.
And I loved being a Methodist. When I was a little bitty girl, there was a picture of Jesus, white man with long hair and a white robe, holding a little lamb. So beautiful in our Sunday school room. And we sang, Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world, and so on. It was so, and also then we got cookies and Kool-Aid at the end. There is that. And then when I got bigger, I went with my mama and daddy. They always went to church, and Wednesday night to square dancing. And my mama liked church. My daddy didn't like church so much, but he liked the singing.
Where was this?
In Houston.
In Houston.
I was born in Houston. So I'd keep Daddy awake or wake him up when it was time to sing. And it was good. It was nice. And then my daddy, when he was 48, got brain cancer. And I was very young. I was in my 20s, and my perfect, precious daddy. And it was in the days before they knew anything about cancer or what to do with it.
48 is young.
48.
It's young.
Yeah. And they experimented the way they have to do, and that's why now they don't do some of the things they did then, because they learned. And there wasn't hospice care or anything. Anyway, my daddy died, and I decided, I'd heard, God knows when the sparrow falls, or Jesus does, one of them knows when the sparrows fall. And I thought, if you know when a sparrow falls and you let my precious daddy die, suffer, be tortured to death, then you're out of my life. And so not only was I had no religion, I was pissed. I tried to blame somebody to blame. And the only one I could think of was God. So there it was. So it was like that. I was angry. And when you're angry about one thing, you're angry.
Yeah.
And so my friend was a very spiritual person. She was exploring everything. And she's my best friend in the whole world. And she said, I heard there's this little Vietnamese monk in Santa Barbara University giving a retreat. Let's go. Well, I thought, I'll go with my girlfriend anywhere,
Because
Scotty.
you love her, yeah.
Yeah, I love her. So, yeah, let's hit it. So we went.
Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara is where in the university, you had to climb up the steps and go to this big room, and there were 900 people. Thai would have big retreats.
Whoa.
So there's 900 people, and we're all sitting in this big auditorium, kind of gym kind of thing, I guess it was. And Ty came to the door. I'm sitting on the floor, trying to sit on the floor, my knees all up, and with 900 other people. And Ty comes to the door, and he opens the door, and he slips off his outside shoes without even seeming to move. And then he slips on his little soft slippers, indoor shoes. And then he floats to the podium. And he sits down at the podium, and I'm crying. I just fell in love right there. He hadn't said a word. Now, when he gave his Dharma talk, there was chanting, and the monastics were there, and it was really beautiful. And then after the chanting, Thai gave a Dharma talk, and that talk it bypassed my brain and went straight to my heart. And his words meant everything to me, but who he was, his presence was. I fell in love. I just fell totally in love. Later on, they offered this 5 mindfulness trainings ceremony. I took the 5 mindfulness trainings. I received them. I got my lineage name.
Was that in Houston or
That was no, that
back in
was in
Santa
Santa
Barbara?
Barbara.
You went back, or
No,
did you move
it
there?
was all part of the retreat.
Oh,
They always end the retreat with that 5 mindfulness training ceremony.
so you went whole hog on it.
From nothing, in fact, from minus.
Yeah, you were angry at God,
Right.
and then you
And then I went, and he didn't, even before he said anything, it was just the way he
his
was.
way, his
And
presence.
so then I came back to us. Oh, and at that retreat, we would break into small groups, 900 people. We'd break into small groups of about 20 people with a nun or a monk as the leader. And I chose the group, a geographical group to sit with and to have our Dharma sharing. And so there was a woman there from Austin, and she said, "We have a sangha," as we talked later. "We have a sangha, you should come." I came, and I haven't stopped coming since.
Is it the Plum Blossom Sangha?
Yeah, it's Plum Blossom.
The same Sangha
It
you
was
visited?
exactly. It had just started. They had been meeting like for 6 months in somebody's house, and they had just found a yoga studio, and they were meeting in that yoga studio, and Sunday came and I went, and I haven't stopped coming. That would be like 30 years ago. Yeah. And so after I took the 5 mindfulness trainings, I kept going to Sangha, and it was hard, actually. There was a lot of none of us really had any kind of practice, so we didn't know how to be together very easily. So there was a lot of knocking of heads. And at one point, I said, "I don't think I want to go to this Sangha. I don't want to give up Buddhism, but I don't want to go to this Sangha anymore." And this friend, I went to Plum Village.
You went to France?
Went to France.
Because Thich Nhat Hanh was kicked out of Vietnam,
Right.
right? And he had to relocate to France.
Right. He wasn't exactly kicked out. He left Vietnam to protest the war.
Okay.
To come, he met with.
Well, didn't they let him come back when he got?
Yeah, 40 years later.
When he was sick?
Yeah, they let him come back. He wasn't sick yet, but they let him come back 40 years later. They didn't want him there because they were afraid that people would adore him, which they did. So they didn't really want him to come back a second time, but anyway. Yeah, so I had been to Plum Village. That was in 1999. And I came home and I wanted to be an aspirant, but I didn't want to be with my Sangha because there were.
Yeah.
She wanted to do it this way, and he wanted to do it that way, and I wanted to do it another way, and we all thought we knew the right way.
You were taking it seriously.
I was taking it seriously, honey. So I had met someone in Plum Village, and she was in Utah. She said, "We're having a meeting of aspirants, a retreat. Why don't you come?" And I went, and the people there said, "We'll mentor you. You don't have to worry about that woman in Austin. We'll take care of you." So I was mentored. I received the 14 mindfulness trainings, they call it. I was ordained as a lay person, and then for about 10 years. And then in 2012, they asked me to be a Dharmacharya. And I said, "Well, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't have a good enough practice. I'm not good enough. How can what? I don't know. No." actually, what I said was, um, mm, the Buddha talked about, or Thai talks about, the next Buddha might be a Sangha, might not just be one person. So I said, how about I'm the Dharma teacher, but it's the Sangha that's the Dharma teacher. So how about the next Dharma teacher is a Sangha? And they all rolled their eyes and said, whatever. So, so I went to the monastery and I received the beautiful a lamp transmission. So Thai has a lamp that he received when he was made a novice, or maybe it was when he was made a full monk. And then they give us little lamps this big that they light from his lamp. It's very beautiful.
That sounds beautiful.
And is
That was at Plum Village?
No, actually, Ty was sick at that time, so I did it at the monastery in California, Deer Park. But all the venerables were. It was, yeah. And
Wow.
as part of the ceremony, you offer Ty a gata, a little poem. So, and then you give a Dharma talk about that poem, which I was totally intimidated. Ugh, here's all these venerables. They all know what they're doing, and there's a bunch of Dharma teachers here from California and all over. And anyway, so my poem that I wrote for Thai, and Thai wrote a poem for me as well in Vietnamese. So my poem, I decided I wanted to be very short so that I wouldn't have to stand up there in front of people too long. So here's my poem. It's 12 words. Be still and know. Be still and not know. Be still, be. I said, okay, thank you. Then I gave a little talk about it, but I didn't really know what I meant by all of that anyway. But it just had to be a 5-minute talk, so I gave this little 5-minute, like, oof.